Hello, everybody. My name is Arvind Gopal, and I'm actually very excited to talk to you about cool product stuff. I know you guys have been sitting through a whole bunch of material today, so I'm hoping some product stuff would be more interesting. Actually, we need to start with changing the title of the slide a little bit. It's no longer just the advisor desktop. Yeah, that's better. So we now have eGain Flex, and people have been talking to you about eGain Flex for a while, and I'll give you more details of what it is, how we started working on it, and what our vision behind it is in the next few slides. So before we start on the agent experience itself, I just want to pop up the slide. I know you've probably seen the same slide in Ashu's presentation earlier, and I think you also saw the same material in Brian's presentation earlier in the day. This is Gartner's predictions for 2022. I want to just point out some of the key things from this, and then we'll see how that translates into agent experience. So the first thing is the advent of AI and the use of AI that's going to happen over the next few years. 72% of customer interactions are going to use some form of AI, right? The second one is the number of channels that are going to come into play over the next few years. So application leaders are going to look at onboarding 12 channels, 12 new channels in the next few years. That's a lot of new variations in customer service that people are going to have to deal with. And the last thing I want to point out from these slides is while the phone conversations are going to fall, or the percentage of phone communications are going to fall, the human-agent interactions will still stay at about 44%. So this is from Gartner's predictions for 2022. What does this mean for agent experience? So for agents, it means that agents need to be more digital. So your phone conversations are going to fall down. However, your human interactions are going to stay about the same, at about 44%, which means your agents are going to be increasingly digital. They're going to deal with more digital channels. You also have a lot of new immature channels coming into play, all of them digital, the Facebook Messengers, the WhatsApps. So again, agents are going to be more and more digital. They will also be dealing with more complex tasks. Most of the simple tasks are going to be taken over by AI. The chatbots are going to answer your forgot passwords. They're no longer going to get escalated to the agents. The more complex tasks that deal with multiple systems, that require you to go and connect different dots, those are the ones that are going to get escalated to the agent. So the tasks that the agents need to deal with are going to get more complex. And your agents will continue to be the highest cost in your contact center, at least for a reasonable amount of time, because your human interactions are not going to go down. It's just the queries that are going to come into the agent are going to change. Your number of interactions is probably going to remain about the same. And also, from the previous presentations, we've seen that your customers expect a personalized, a well-connected, guided experience where they don't have to repeat themselves over and over again. They expect the organization to know everything about them. They expect almost the organization to provide an answer before they tell you what their problem is. They're not loyal to brands, they're loyal to experiences. In fact, there was another statistic that said about 66% of customers surveyed said they switched service providers because of a poor experience. So they're loyal to good experiences, they're not loyal to the brands. And they just seek easy experiences. You make it easy for them, they'll stay with you. You don't make it easy for them, they'll go away. So to get a good customer experience, you have to enable your agents to provide that level of experience to your customers. Basically, what that means is agent experience is extremely critical to your organization. So let's also take a look at who our new generation agents are. We call them Gen Z. They were born into the digital era. They don't know a time without internet. They've always seen internet. They've almost always had a smartphone. They're used to Googling for answers. They don't expect to be trained. They expect to be guided. They expect to be able to find the answers easily. They don't want to remember long, complex processes. because you can easily find the answer otherwise. And they expect things to be automated. They would rather ask Alexa to turn on the lights rather than walk up to a switch. So they expect a heavy amount of automation in everything that they do. And lastly, they're exposed to tools in their digital life that are extremely powerful and extremely easy to use. The Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Snapchats. They're extremely powerful tools. They're also very easy to use. They expect the work tools to be just as easy, because those are the tools that they've grown up being used to. So their expectation is the work tools are going to be just as easy. For the last year, 2 years, we've been reimagining our agent experience, and we've been reworking it. I think last year when we were here doing the same show, we gave you guys a preview of the Advisor Desktop. With version 17, we launched the Advisor Desktop fully. And I want to talk a little bit about dots, and I think you guys have been hearing a lot of dots today. So just to put some perspective on it, a dot for us is pretty much any entity in an organization. It could be a system that you need to integrate to. It could be a capability that you need. It could be just data that exists somewhere that's required to solve the problem. It could just be context around the problem, context around the customer. They're all dots. And the way as we looked at it further, there are lots of these dots within the organization. And for an easy customer experience and for an easy agent experience, it's important to connect the relevant dots to arrive from your problem to your solution. That's where the connecting the dots comes into play. The Advisor Desktop was designed to connect the dots within your organization. So that basically means integrate with all the systems, all the data sources, all the contextual information in your organization at will. We have a lot of out-of-the-box integrations. So bring in the various external dots that you have in your organization into the eGain desktop. Or take the dots that exist in the eGain system, which may be your knowledge, which may be your customer context. Take those dots and integrate them with your other systems. It needs to work both ways. We do realize that eGain is not going to be the system that everybody in the organization uses. So connecting the dots is important regardless of which system you are actually interfacing with. So the Advisor Desktop was designed with the idea of connecting dots. And the next step, the next natural step in the evolution was the Flex Desktop. So what do we mean by Flex? Right? So literally, what we mean is you could pick any of those dots that we just talked about in the organization and drop those into the Advisor Desktop. These dots could, as I said before, they could be eGain capabilities, which may be your knowledge, as you can see it over here. It could be external capabilities, like your CRM system, your context, data that's residing in other systems. Pick up all the dots and drop those into the Advisor Desktop. And what each of those dots gets is a vertical space to display that information. And one of the things that we wanted to do with the Flex Desktop was to provide a way where agents can get all of the information they need in one view. No scrolling, no switching tabs, get all the information that they need to process their activities in one view. So that's what Flex allows you to do. It allows you to basically flex the Advisor Desktop to suit your business processes, to suit your needs in solving problems. It also allows agents to pick from pre-configured layouts that your supervisors, managers, or administrators can set up for them. It also allows them to go in and create their own layouts. And on the other side, it allows supervisors and managers to control what layouts agents can see. So you can pre-specify layouts per agent group, saying these groups of agents deal with these tasks. These are the layouts that they're going to see. This is the information they need to process. And hence, this is the optimal desktop for them. So again, it allows you to flex the desktop to suit your needs. And lastly, one of the things that we've started seeing when we visit contact centers is most contact centers tend to have more than one screens. They have a lot of real estate, but it's horizontal real estate. And most websites, most applications are designed to scroll vertically. So what we've done is we've allowed the desktop to expand across all the horizontal space that you can have and bring in all the relevant information in one place so you can give the agent that entire view utilizing all the space that you need. That's the other advantage of Flex desktop. If you haven't got a chance to see this, we actually have this running in the demo station on AX1. You'd see the big 2 TVs, and if you ask anybody standing at the station, they'll show you that they can flex their desktop across the TVs and add enough information to fill up all the spaces. So this is actually available in the demo station downstairs. So I also want to talk about some of the things that we see in the contact center and how the advisor desktop allows you to make your agent experience easier. So first thing I want to talk about is the ship. How do we solve problems today in the contact center? When an agent gets an email or a chat, what are the steps that they take to solve a problem? This is what we commonly see. So let me give you a little bit more context. Right? Most systems tend to be, there are a lot of systems that are integrated, but what they tend to do is they pop a lot of information onto this agent screen. On average, an agent has to look at approximately 4 applications per activity, per interaction with the customer. So there's a lot of information being thrown at the agent, and basically the agent has to make sense, or the agent has to connect the dots to get to the resolution. This relies on agent's ability to recall what he's either seen before by solving similar problems, or what he has learned in training. So it completely relies on agent recall. And what this leads to is silos of expertise. You tend to have a whole bunch of agents who are very good at certain types of problems, and a whole bunch of other agents that are very good at certain other types of problems. That basically is a nightmare when you're trying to balance out load across your contact center. What we would like to get to is a point where instead of staring, you solve the problem. What we mean by that is, or the primary difference is, instead of throwing a lot of information at the agent, you surface the relevant information contextually when needed. You guide the agents to a solution, so you provide the agents with a step-by-step guide that takes them from one point to the other till they resolve the problem. And executed well, what this can get you to is a point where any call coming in from a contact center can be routed to nearly any agent, because the system is now connecting the dots for the agents instead of relying on the agent's ability to connect the dots. So just want to switch gears and show you the product for a second and see how the product helps the agents in solving a problem as opposed to staring at it. Right? So when a phone or a chat comes into the eGain desktop, we can automatically launch knowledge, which is personalized. It can be personalized based on the agent's profile, the agent's skill level, the issue type, etc. It can be personalized to a point where we guide the agent through exactly the script that they need to go through. We can also take the entire context, including the IVR context, from the call that came in, pass that over to the knowledge system, use all of that information to start resolving the issue. So this cuts down on time that the agent needs to spend to ask customer questions to which the answer the organization already knows. So again, I said we can use all the information that we already know. We can also dip into third-party systems to answer additional questions. So if you have a CRM system, we can easily write an integration into it. We can get all the information about the customer. If you have an order management system, we can integrate into it and find out if there's been a recent order. We can use all of that information to resolve the customer query. So even before the customer has a chance to ask the question, we already know a lot of details of the customer. We're already halfway down solving that problem even before the customer gives you the full description. And the level of guidance that you give your agent can also be personalized based on agent skill level, and it can be personalized dynamically based on the change in skill level of the agent. So for an experienced agent, you could just show the agent a whole bunch of questions and let them answer them one at a time. Whereas for a novice agent, you probably want to show them one question at a time with a very strong script that they absolutely have to follow. So the level of guidance can also be customized. And it's all done with the same case base. So there's no extra authoring overhead to be able to do all of this. So that's what the system allows you to do. So it allows you to step the agent through solving the issue. The next thing I want to talk about is, again, another thing that we tend to see in the contact centers. A lot of systems that we see in the contact centers are what we call digital aware. And I'll explain digital aware a little bit. Digital aware system gives you a choice of channels. It can deal with digital channels, gives you a choice of channels that you can service your customers in. So it gives you a chat, which you can put on your website. You can service your customer on the chat channel. It gives you email, which you have an email address. Queries come in on the email address. You can service those queries. So customers have to choose one of the channels that's available to get service, and they have to stay within that channel. If they switch a channel, so if you go from email to chat, you lose context. If you switch a channel, you lose context with the problem. You have to start all over again. As opposed to digital-first systems, which allows the agent and the customer to choose the right channel for resolving the query. Because it allows you to blend, switch, or hop channels. Basically, it allows you to change channels if that's not the channel that's right for resolving the query. If you want, essentially allowing you to use the most effective channel for the task. I show you how the product enables that as well. So in the product, if you are in a chat conversation and you feel that adding a video channel, say it's an insurance inquiry coming in, somebody's in a car accident, you want to take a look at what the damage is to the car so you can provide a quote at the spot. You can easily add a video into that conversation. Without losing context, without changing the agent, you can now process further. In a digital aware system, you would route it into a video channel, which would go to another agent, and the conversation would start all over again. So this allows you to easily blend another channel in. You can also add co-browse to an existing conversation. So if your customer is having trouble filling a form, you can easily add a co-browse session, help them through filling the form while in the same context to that conversation. So the application allows you to bring all the channels together as opposed to service the customer on the specific channel that they came in. And lastly, I know Noel talked a lot about this in his messaging presentation. One of the things that happens a lot is, in today's day, most people are used to conversations. Conversations start at one point and end at a different point. They are not necessarily synchronous. You could start a conversation today, continue it tomorrow, and tools like Facebook Messenger, SMS enable you to do that. However, most digital systems in the contact center deal with cases. Cases have very strict boundaries. You need those boundaries to be able to measure things like agent performance, case duration, et cetera, et cetera. So the question is, do you need a case or do you need a conversation? What we have in the Advisor desktop is the ability to have a conversation with the customer without losing the context of the case. So you can start a conversation with the customer on an SMS channel or a Facebook Messenger, and if the customer is engaging with you on a consistent basis, that will stay within a case. At some point, we can break the case boundary, go to a next case, but continue the conversation. And when the customer comes back into the Advisor desktop, we'll show you the previous conversation. So the agent gets the conversation view. The agent gets to see the whole conversation as if it was part of the same conversation, as if it was one long conversation as opposed to two cases. So the system takes care of making the boundaries between the cases and the conversations. So this we think is a very critical capability, especially when it comes to all the new messaging channels which are asynchronous. Because you don't have control over the asynchronous channels. You don't have control over when a Facebook Messenger conversation or a SMS conversation starts and when it ends. That's controlled by the customer because the channel is always open. There is no office hours for those channels. And we still work with phones. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see, we had a press release for the Amazon Connect integration today. I know Ashu talked a lot about the Amazon Connect integration today as well, and we have the entire integration on display at AX1. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check it out, that's a very interesting demo. Please go check it out. It shows you the entire phone handling capabilities and the blending capabilities of channels, as well as the knowledge capabilities with the phone channel. It's on AX1. So again, we work with phones. All the same capabilities exist. This is just a couple of screenshots on how the phones work within the Advisor desktop. The last thing I want to talk about is collaboration. I think I also heard some conversations in the earlier presentations on how you basically go from one agent to the other to try and figure out how to solve a problem that you've never heard of before. I've also seen various other methods like instant messages, stickies, etc., being used to collaborate within a contact center. Now, we saw that the queries are getting more complex. We saw that from the Gartner predictions earlier. So queries are getting more complex. So the need or the ability to collaborate within the contact center is extremely crucial. And the collaboration needs to be contextual and it has to be easy. So what we did with the Advisor desktop is we made it as easy as we could. It's as simple as a right click. When you're servicing a query, at any point within the query, you can select a piece of text, right-click on it, and it'll give you a few options. One of the options is Ask. You click on Ask, it will ask a selected group of agents the question and try to get you a resolution. So it starts a conversation with a group of agents and allows you to come to a solution. What we also have included in the Advisor desktop is an internal chat option. It lists all the agents that are logged into the system with presence indicators, so you know who's available to help you with a particular query. And all of these queries are within the context of the activity, but they are private to the agent. So it's an agent-to-agent conversation within the context of the larger activity. And the last thing is, with collaboration, is transfers and conferences. Now, transfers and conferences have been around for a long time. However, what we've done with the Advisor desktop is the ability to transfer context when the activity is transferred. So, for example, a phone call comes in, you have run through a diagnosis with the customer, you're halfway through the diagnosis. When you transfer it to another agent, normally what happens is your notes get transferred, so the agent can read through and find out what happened, but the diagnosis you've done does not get transferred. What we transfer is the entire context of everything that happened, including the half-done diagnosis, to the next agent. So the next agent gets to start exactly where the first agent left off. So we call it supercharged transfers. So it basically cuts down the agent time in terms of having to go through the same steps that the other agent might have already done. So the entire context is always transferred with the activity. So what this essentially gives you, hopefully, is one interface that can do all the functions that an agent requires. And now, with the Flex, you have additional ability to modify the interface to suit your needs as well. That's how I get it. Thank you very much, guys.